Hi friends, in this AWS tutorial, we are going to learn about Amazon Forecast Service. We are going to see the overview of this service, the topology, and the different type of use cases where we can apply this service. We are also going to create a tutorial where we are going to do a forecast of a sales demand of a retail store. So these are the some different type of use cases where we can use the forecast service. Like weather forecasting is one of the very generic use case where we want to forecast the weather for next 7 days or 15 days. And in the banking industry, we want to do the forecasting for the new credit card account opens or new loan account open. Or in the housing industry, sometimes we want to predict how the housing prices will go for the next 6 months or a quarter or a year. So any type of forecast which we want to do in our business, we can use this service. There are few more examples in the retail industry. Like one of the example is inventory forecasting, where any retail store wants to know how much inventory they need to buy for next couple of months, so that they don't need to invest a good amount of money in inventory which are not going for sale. Next is workforce planning. They want to forecast what workforce we need it. Sometimes in a festival seasons you may need more workforce, and sometimes we may don't need a high workforce. Or another use case in the retail store may be a travel demand forecasting, which basically forecasts how many customers will visit the store in a particular time. So there could be a numerous use cases for the forecasting. So now let's go through the a topology, how this forecast service works. So in the left side, you can see the historical data. We will upload the historical data in the forecast service using maybe using the S3 buckets, and then this. So here we have mentioned few use cases where we can use the forecast service. So weather forecasting, where we want to forecast the weather for coming a week or a month or a 15 days. In the banking industry, it wants to know how many credit cards can be opened or how many credit cards may be closed in next quarter or maybe next 1 year. Similarly, how many loan could be processed, it wants to know. Or in the housing industry, it wants to predict how the housing prices will go on for next 1 year. So means any type of forecast where you want to see the demand, or you want to see the sales of a product in a coming future, you can use the forecast service. So here we have a couple of more use case related to retail industry, where a company wants to know the inventory in the coming future. So it can use forecasting for the inventory purpose. It wants to know the workforce in the near future. Then it can use forecast for the workforce planning. Similar way, it wants to know the customer, how many customer will visit the retail store. So it can use the forecast for the travel demand forecasting. So these are the couple of use cases, but there could be any type of a forecast. You can use the forecast service. This is a generic overview how forecast service works. So in the left side, you can see the historical data. Like suppose let's take a use case where we have a retail store, and which has a sales data of its different items which it sells, and for of couple of years. And what we want to forecast the sales of that retail store of different items for next few months. So what we do, we upload the historical data in this service, forecast service, and then this forecast service will create a model and it will generate a forecast for the future time. So these forecast you can see in the form of a graph. You can see forecast can be visualized in the console. You can also download in the form of a CSV file, and you can also retrieve these forecasts using the forecast API. Okay, there is one more thing, is a related data. So along with the historical data, there are few more parameters which may help us to do the forecasting. Like when we talk about the retail store, sometimes the retail store runs some sort of a promotions, like say end of season sales, or maybe some promotions in the time of the festivals, like as a Christmas or Thanksgiving. So these times your sales demand will be higher compared to the other times. So we want to use these data also. So these data you can load into forecast using the related data field. So this is the overall picture, how the data comes and gets loaded, and how the forecast service can create a model, and how we can view the forecast. So when it comes to forecast implementation, this service, so these are the couple of things which we will be doing, and we will show you here. The first thing is we need to create a dataset group. Under the dataset group, we will import data, metadata, or related data. Then we will create the predictors. Creating the predictor is basically training the model. Then we will create the forecast, query the forecast, and we will, if we want to export this forecast in the form of a CSV file, we can also export the forecast too. So here for this tutorial, where we are going to demonstrate this service, we will download the dataset from this link. This is the, let me go through this link. Okay, so this is the public machine learning repository. This data we can download it from here. So just to save the time, I have already downloaded this data. So this is the data, and let me open and show you. So this data, if we go through this data, it has got couple of fields. Okay, it has got the invoice number. So this is a retail data, retail store data, which has got different items. If we just go through here, this is a transnational data set which contains all the transactions occurring between 12th of January till 12th of September 2010-2011, and this is a retail store, and it sells unique all occasions gift. So these are the parameters. The invoice number, the stock code is a unique item which it sells. It for that item, each unique item, it has got a code. Then we have the description, what that product name it is. Then number of quantity, how many quantities are getting sold, invoice date, then unit price, and then customer ID and country. Forecast service. So this is the forecast service, and so the first step is create the dataset group. So let me create a group here, retail _ dataset group. And here there are a couple of domains. So our data belongs to a retail domain, so we can have a retail domain. If we want to do a forecast in the inventory planning, we can use this. We want to do the forecast in EC2 capacity in AWS perspective, you can use the EC2 capacity, workforce, or if you want to do in any sort of a custom metrics like sales forecasting, cash flow forecasting, web traffic forecasting. So depends on which domain we want to use. We can use it here. For us, it's a retail, so I will select here. Tax, if you want, you can have it, or we can just leave it open. Next. And what is the frequency of the data? Let me give the data set name, retail _ DS. And frequency of your data. So if you look the data here, you can see the invoice date. So our data is it's basically a minute, I can say. Even the data is coming in each second, so it's in the form of a year, date, month. So I can keep it here. in minutes data. And then this step is very important. This is the schema builder. So these are the three attributes: the item ID, the timestamp, and demand. Okay, so these attributes must be present in your input data which you want to upload to forecast service. Okay, apart from that, if you think any other attribute can help you to predict the demand, you can add it over here. Okay, and then here it is your timestamp format. So the data which you are uploading it, that should have the timestamp in this format, YY, month, DD, like this. Okay, but if you see my data set, it has got the timestamp in a different form. It has got like month, date, and then year. Okay, so we have to change it. So this is the part of our data cleaning. So what we need to do here, we have to have the data with these names: attribute name, item ID, timestamp, and demand. But here the column names are different. So to save the time, I have already formatted my sheet, and if you can see here, this is my new sheet in CSV form. I will just open it. It's the same data, but what I have done, I just changed the column name. So the first column is item ID, the second column is timestamp, the third column is demand, and I think if sometimes even the unit price can affect the demand of the of any particular item. Maybe the unit price is more, maybe it may not be getting sold very quickly. So I have used this parameter. So if you think any other parameter, maybe the country name, if those can affect our future demand, you can add it over here. Okay, so let me, I'm adding one more parameter. So let me add it here. Add, that is unit price, add attribute, unit price, and attribute type as a string. By default, the forecast service forces, if we are adding any new attribute, it has to be in the form of a string. Then just give the dataset import name, detail underscore ds underscore import. Select time zone. If you have any particular time zone for your dataset, you can use it. Otherwise, you can leave it empty. For us, this file is a CSV file. Okay, so I'm just keeping it as a CSV. And okay, this file, where is the data location? So this data, as of now, it is there in my local workstation. So I have to upload this data in a S3 bucket. So let me quickly put this data in the bucket. Okay, underscore. So this is the bucket, I just created it. Everything is by default, I'm not changing anything. Create bucket. Okay. Okay, and I will upload the data over here. Okay, once your data is uploaded, you can come over here and give your bucket name. And here you have to use you have to create a IAM role. So if you haven't created grant any S3 bucket or space S3 bucket, I just used as any S3 bucket. So with that, this AWS has created a role for us, and click on start. And here you can see our data set will get created. So this data set retail underscore DFG should be getting created. Okay, it will take some time. Sometime it may take around half an hour, 30 minutes to create the data set, time series data set. Once this data set is created, we have also the option to upload the metadata and upload the time series data. We need to understand. So sometimes, so for in this particular data, in the data itself, I have the data description. So I don't need to separately import this data, but if I have a large data set, so I have an option to import the metadata separately. And related time series data is basically the data is related to, like, promotion is one of the data, like any sort of data which may impact our original time series data. We can import it over here. So I will pause this video and we'll come back once the data is loaded. So as you see now, the data import is active, means we have imported the data properly. Now the next step is, if you have any metadata, you can import the metadata and related time series data. Otherwise, the next step is predictor training. Okay, you want to train your model. So let's start it, and we can give some name over here. So retail underscore predictor. Okay, and the forecast frequency, when it will forecast your sales demand, what should be your frequency? It can be in the form of minutes, hours, days, weeks and months, and it's just a days. And then these are the couple of fields. Okay, forecast horizon, it how far into future you want to predict your data. So suppose I just want for the next 60 days of data. Okay, and then these are the optional field, forecast boundary and dimensions, you can leave it open. Next step is forecast quantiles. It's a very important concept. Okay, so you by default there are 3 quantiles, 0.1, 0.5 and 0.9, but you can add up to 5 quantiles. Okay, so let's see what is the quantile means. Quantile means the model, when it will predict, if you select 0.9 as a quantile, it means 90% time your actual value will be below your predicted value. In this case, 50% there is a chance your actual value will be below the predicted value by this model. And then here the 10% is the chance your actual value will be below to predicted value by this model. Okay, so I am just keeping it the default value, so I am not adding any more. Predictor configuration, these are all the optional value. We can keep it as a optional. If you want this model to have some sort of explainability which can tell which feature helps to predict the model, you can activate, or otherwise you can leave it open. If you want to have any monitoring, you can make it as activate. And okay, so suppose your store is closed in holidays time, so you can choose the holidays calendar. So it will, when it will create your model, it will make sure in the holidays time there is no sales and create. So now you can see your predictor, it's pending. It will take it depends on how much you have your data. So it will take some time to train the model. Sometime it may take around 1.5 to 2 hours. So we will wait for that. Okay, as you see now, our predictor is active now. So as we have seen in our slide, the first thing is to create a dataset group, second one is create predictor, and the third one is now we have to create the forecast. So how to do that? Just select your predictor and create forecast. So you can give here name, choose a predictor, and these are the quantiles, like what quantiles we wanted. So let me put the same quantiles. Okay, and all item for generating forecast. So if you want to generate the forecast for one particular item, we can give it here by selecting items, or otherwise I'm going to generate for all the items. Start. Okay, so this forecast also will take some time, maybe it depends on your data, maybe it may take 1 hour, so we will wait here. Okay, so now you can see our forecast is active. So now we can go and we can start forecasting. How to do that? So come again to the dataset group, select the dataset group. So here we have option called query forecast. Okay, at this point you can just go to query forecast, select your predictor and select the dates. Okay, so for us, if we look at our data set, so our data set is from 1st of December, and I think let's just see what is the last date for this data set. It's 19th of December, so our forecast will start after that only, and 19th of December 2011. Okay, so 2011 December, 19th of December, okay, 9th of December, and I think we did it for 60 days. So let's have with 2012, and here let me put as a 02 and 08. So let's see, it will tell you if what should be the date. So register filter is missing, and here item ID. So this is very important part. So when we are doing the forecasting, it says like which item you want to forecast. So in our data set, if you look into this, our data set, this is our data set which we used as a input data. So here we have got a demand which we want to predict. Okay, and this is a timestamp. Okay, and this is the item ID. So we can select any of these items. So suppose I want to predict the demand of this particular item for every day. Okay, so I selected this item and get forecast. So here means it will tell you about a date. The end date must not be after 7th of February. Why? Because we selected for 60 days, right? So January is 31st days. So with this it should be 7th of February. And now here you can see the graph. Okay, so now what it says, for this particular item 71053 whose stock code is there, in next 60 days this should be the forecast. It starts with December 10th. Okay, so here if you see, we have three quantiles, P10, P50 and P90. So we need to understand. So when we say it's a P90, P90 means I just dragged out all, so this is only remaining. So it means in one particular date. So let's have the date is December 11th. So December 11th, the P90 forecast says 8.7. It means in December 11th, the actual sales, there is a 90% chance the actual sale, actual number of transactions will be less than 8.7. Actual demand will be less than 8.7. Similar way, here on December 12th, the actual sale will be less than 24. Okay, similar way, if you see here on December 15th, the actual sale, there is a 9, okay, there is a 90% chance is there, it should be less than 34. Okay, and again if you see here on December 16th and December 17th, it's very less. Okay, so maybe it may be a weekend, so December 17th maybe the store is closed and we can see the forecast, it says is less than 0.27. Okay, so this is the quantile percentage. Similar way, if I just strike it out and I just enable the P50, so what does it mean? In a particular day, okay, let's have on December 14th, if the value is 8.71, so there are 50% of chance the actual value will be less than 8.71. Okay, so this is basically the probability. What is the probability? The actual value will be less than this value, the quantile value. Okay, if we want to predict for any other item, so you can select any other item also. So let me do for this item, and you can just select here and get forecast. Okay, so here we got the forecast. Okay, now suppose if we want to save this forecast in a Excel sheet, how we can do that? For that you need to come here in the query forecast, in the forecast, here we have to create a forecast export. Okay, and the same forecast which we have seen in the graph form, we can export as a CSV file. How we can do that? Just put here retail underscore forecast underscore export and give the IAM role name and CSV file, and here we can give our S3 bucket. So this is the S3 bucket which we have used to save the data set. I just choose here and click on start. Okay, so here our forecast is here. You can see retail forecast export, and it may take couple of minutes, maybe half an hour, and after that you see in this our bucket, the S3 bucket, you should be able to see this the same forecast which we have seen in the graphical form. You should be able to see in our this bucket. Okay, so this was about the forecast. Couple of things need to remember. Whenever we are using this service, the first step is to import the data set. If you have any metadata or related data set, import it. Second step is create the predictor. It will take some time. Then create forecast, and then query forecast, and at the last, if you want to save this forecast as a CSV file, then create forecast export. So thank you very much, and if please subscribe our channel, and if you like our video, just say thumbs up, and if you have any questions, just put your question in comments. We will try to answer. Thank you.